Hello and welcome back to my channel if you have been before. If not, my name is Kaylee and I focus on all things health, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, home things, multifaceted. So I like to talk a lot about a lot of different things. However, I started a series talking about my current cut that I am in, and this is sort of part two of that. So if you want to see the first video, I have linked it down below so you can go watch it. I talk about how I got out of a lean bulk recently and how I'm starting a cut over the next 8 to 12 weeks. And I am taking YouTube along on that journey. So if you're interested in that, go see that. In this video, I want to talk about if you have never set your calories before, if you've never started a calorie deficit, sort of where to start, where I started, why I'm focusing on certain things throughout this cut, et cetera, et cetera. So if this is interesting to you, please subscribe and follow along on the journey. I would love to have you along so we can support one another in your goals. And then obviously I am trying to cut, so would love to have you along on this journey. We are going to talk about exactly how I set my calories and my macros in a way that feels sustainable and also realistic at the same time. I am going to also explain a small tweak that I did to my macros for my hormonal health leading up to my period. So stay tuned for that because it matters, especially as women, et cetera, et cetera. Let's just jump in. Why do calories matter? What even, who cares? Who cares about calories? At the most basic level, fat loss comes from eating fewer calories your body burns. At the most basic level, that does not translate to eating as little as possible. That's not what that means. The goal is to eat just enough less that your body can lose fat while still feeling supported and fueled for your days and your workouts, etc. In my opinion, a lot of people struggle with this because they start too aggressively, too quickly, and then you burn out and you're like, you may lose a bunch of weight, but then you stall and you're like, I'm over it. I don't want to do this anymore. And so you really have to start small and intentional so that it is sustainable for the long term because it's only going to help you in the long run. So because I just finished a lean bulk. I did that for about 4 months. I did not just go in and slash my calories. I was very intentional with how much I brought them down because I was eating in a slight surplus for the lean bulk and trying to build some muscle. And so I am starting my cut at 1,720 calories, which is a small but intentional deficit for me. I'm starting small and I will go as I go. I will maybe slash some calories as we go. But I talked about in the last video too how I'm trying to get 10K steps every single day. And so as I go, what I would like to do is increase my expenditure and not decrease my food because my workouts are very important to me and I want to maintain the muscle that I have built over the last 4 months. And so that sort of means that I need to increase my expenditure, which is my step count, instead of maybe taking away from my caloric intake. Now, that's not saying that I am going to never slash my calories past 1,720. I'm just saying I'm starting there. We'll see how it goes over the course of the next few weeks. And again, bringing you guys along on this journey so you can see. But that 1,720 calories for me gives me enough food so that I can train hard still. I can recover well. I can maintain the muscle that I worked so hard to build. And it allows me to stay consistent. It's a lot easier to stay consistent in a calorie deficit when you aren't so aggressive with it. So if you are new to this, I would recommend starting higher, not lower, higher, then adjusting it slowly as you go because that is a way more sustainable long-term approach. I'm just telling you. So let's talk macros and what that looks like. I got to take a coffee break because there's a lot of information. So What are your macros? If you have no idea, let's say I'm talking to somebody who has no idea what a macro is. Your macro is a macronutrient. It essentially is the three main groups of nutrients that your body kind of runs off of, if you think of it that way. So you have protein, you have fats, and you have carbs. Protein for me is a non negotiable on a cut. You need as much protein as humanly possible so that you can maintain the muscle that you built over the course of whatever you did prior to going on your calorie deficit or your cut. Hopefully, you were building some muscle because that's what you're going to end up revealing during a cut. But either way, you need a lot of protein on a calorie deficit because it's going to keep you full. It's going to help maintain that muscle. You need a good amount of protein. So my protein amount is at 170 grams a day, which is a lot. And I'm trying to do it through Whole Foods. I don't want to do protein shakes yet. I don't want to do bars or anything like that. I don't want to do powders. I want to try and get all of my protein from essentially meats, quite honestly. So that again will help with my fullness throughout the day, and it will help maintain the muscle, which is of the most high importance to me during this cut. I do not want to lose a lot of muscle during this cut. So the second is fats. So this is where I'm going to talk about the hormonal health just for a second. So I did make a small adjustment here. You can go to a TDEE calculator and they will tell you what your sort of cut is, what your maintenance is, and what your bulk is. And this is just a side note, really quickly. Um, but you need to track your food for like a week or so, in my opinion, and just eat how you normally eat so that you know what your maintenance is. That way, you know exactly what your calorie deficit should be. Hopefully, maybe if you're not brand new to this and you've been doing this for a while, you know how this works. Like, track your food, you know what your bulk is, you know what your maintenance is, and now you know what your calorie deficit is. But a TDEE calculator is really helpful to start out, and I will link it below so that you have it. Um, so when I say that I shifted my fat, originally my carbs were going to be a little bit higher than my fat intake. And I don't hate that because carbs is sort of your body's like favorite source of fuel essentially and energy, and so that helps with workouts. However, I am approaching my period, so healthy fats are important for reproductive health and hormones. And I have just learned over time that around my period, um, my body feels a lot better when I'm eating a little bit more fat and not as much carbs, not as many carbs. So for me, it's best that I don't push my fats too low during this particular phase of my cycle. I do not do cycle syncing during workouts. I work out like normal throughout my entire period, quite honestly. But I will say that I do make that adjustment when I am around my period, and I try and eat a little bit more fats than I do carbs. So for that, I am starting at 58 grams of fat. And that should keep my meals satiating and also supportive for my hormone and reproductive health at the same time. So my protein is at 170, my fat is at 58. We talked about why my fat is at 58. So my carbs are a little bit lower than they were previously, and they're also a little bit lower because I gave some to my fat. So my carbs right now are at 130 grams. Again, like I said, carbs still matter because they are your body's energy source. They're your body's favorite energy source, I should say. And so they matter for macros um, to that degree. But I will say that macros are not static. So they can and they should change a little bit depending on, for women, your cycle, what is your energy level, what is your stress like, what is your life, etc. Just take all of that into account and you can adjust things accordingly. Just because the TDEE calculator or any other app that you're using says, like, this is where you should be right now, you know your body and you know how you feel when you eat an abundance of carbs or how you feel when you eat a little bit more healthy fat. And so, my opinion is that you should adjust it accordingly. And the only adjustment I typically make on a calorie deficit is when I am around my period, I try and eat a little bit more healthy fats. And then I will shift it back to the carbs so that I have a little bit more fuel for my workouts. But around my period, I try and eat a little bit more healthy fats. You do whatever works best for your body, but what I will say, no matter what, you need to prioritize protein because again, protein is going to help keep you full over the course of the day. It's going to also help maintain the muscle that you have built. So, regardless of what you do, try and keep your protein as high as could be. So again, if you are brand new to this or you're brand new here, you're brand new to my channel, what I really want you to take away from this is that there is no perfect macro split. Everyone is individual. Everybody's needs are individual. Everybody's macros are going to be different from the person sitting next to them. And your body is not a machine. Hormones matter, and flexibility in all of this is part of long term success. So, if I just listened to whatever was spat out and I just said, yeah, I'm going to do all of those carbs, a little bit of fat, and that amount of protein, I probably would not be feeling that great because I'm not adjusting it how I should according to, my hormones and things like that. You do not by any means need to or should you copy my numbers exactly ever. Your numbers are going to be very different from my numbers. I am just telling you my numbers for transparency's sake and because people ask a lot like, "Hey, you're eating all of this. What are your macros?" Now you know what my macros are. You can use them though as an example and how to think about your own macros. So if you go do the TDEE calculator, then you'll know, hey, she said this about protein, or hey, she said this about carbs, or maybe I should think about this about fat. And again, everybody's body is very different. So just research on your own, use yourself as a guinea pig, like I use myself as a scientific experiment all the time. And that is how I learned that healthy fats around my period is like chef's kiss. So that's all I'm saying. Next up is as part of this series, I'm going to be sharing what I eat in a day so that you can kind of get an idea for that. I'm going to do a meal prep video so you can see what that looks like. How I train, I'm not going to film in the gym like I said in the last video, but I will talk about my training split and how that's going and et cetera, et cetera. And then I also am going to do sort of weekly check-ins along the way during my calorie deficits so that you guys can see real time how this is going, how I'm feeling, what I'm changing, et cetera, et cetera. So I want this series to feel very supportive and like I'm bringing you along the journey, but also that I'm supporting whatever journey you're on as well. And not at all about restricting things, living your life. I actually am traveling next week. So you'll see what that looks like when you're on a calorie deficit, but you're traveling. And so, again, I would love to have you subscribe. I would love to have you as part of my journey. I also want to support you in whatever journey you're on. If you have any questions or I didn't answer anything that you're maybe like thinking about, feel free to comment or DM me on any social channel. I'm always here to help. And I love talking about stuff like this. So I could talk all day. So just ask me if you have any questions. I am here to support and help. And again, this doesn't have to be done alone. Like I'm doing this on YouTube at this point because one, accountability for myself. Two, I feel like a lot of people, want to see what a cut journey maybe looks like for a real, not a fitness influencer. I'm not a fitness influencer. And so I'm bringing you along. I'm trying to, peel back the curtain a little bit. And again, I would love to have you along this journey. And I will keep you updated as we go. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.